Within the field of dating and seduction for men, we usually identify three main phases that tend to come back in all of the teachings about it. The first one is the approach, the initial encounter. How do you make the first impression and break the ice with a woman you would like to meet? Then the second phase refers more to the mid-game. How do you build the comfort and trust so that she feels like she has known you forever and you can escalate? And the third phase, being the end game, is how you escalate, therefore physically, and how do you lead her into some more private place to have some more intimate activities. And one kind of untold truth about those three phases is that most of the content you see online, most of the dating coaches out there, most of them, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, focus on the first phase only, simply because it is where the biggest demand is, and because unfortunately here most guys will never really get past that first phase, either because they just stay into passive theoretical mode, they study and study and study and don't really practice anything, and the few who practice, many of them just settle with mediocre results and never really push through their deeper inner blockages. So most of the content and advice you see about seduction is mostly geared at the first initial phase, but this time I wanted to give you some more advanced clues about, okay, once you have gotten past those early stages, what happens at the end, and how do you get past the final blockages or conscious resistance she might have. Despite the fact you have been building trust, she might still have a few last concerns. How do you get past those last concerns without being pushy, without being confrontational or anything, just by remaining subtle and charming, to say the least? So when you arrive at the end phase, at the end game in seduction, it mostly means there has been some emotional escalation. She has been maybe going through some horniness already, or at least some emotional trust. She has started to feel like she could trust you. Maybe because you have displayed some authenticity, some honesty. Maybe because you have talked about some more private things about your own life and she reciprocated. So now she and you might feel like you are, in a common phase together. You are in a kind of bubble together. That is where the emotional connection happens. And at the end, just before letting go physically, she might have a few last blockages or constraints, like, wait a minute, would my friends approve that guy? Is he really somebody I could get into my life? Maybe yes, maybe no. Or am I not just an easy girl if I let go that easily with him? Many women have blockages like this, either due to past experiences or because of some social conditioning, or maybe because they grew up in some heavily conservative family. Whatever the reason, she might have blockages, whereas you might be completely honest with her from the beginning, and if you are completely honest with her, then there shouldn't be any reason she says no if she has already felt like she wanted something with you anyway. So the first language pattern after this long introduction that I would like to give you is, I would never try to make you do something you would not do with someone you fully trust. That sentence is on purpose ambiguous. It is playing on some confusion language because it is not completely clear what is the meaning of it. But obviously the main embedded command to focus on here is someone you fully trust. And if you want to play the speed seduction thing, obviously you point at yourself as you say someone you fully trust. Don't make it too obvious, but that can be playful and funny sometimes. And I do think there is some effect on the unconscious mind when you keep talking about that person you fully trust. At some point you may associate in her mind with all the people she has met before that she indeed fully trusts. But the whole point of that sentence, of that language pattern, is more to get her to accept that she can let go at this point. By letting go, we just mean letting go of the worries and fears that don't need to be there because you have been authentic from the beginning. If she has been asking you anything about what do you expect happening between you and her, just tell her clearly what you want, or not with her directly, but explain in general your perspective of in life you are looking for a girlfriend or just for people to have some fun with. Whatever you want, you can want anything you want, just be clear about it. Once that has been done, then there is no reason she should say no. If she clearly knows what you are looking for, then if she wants it, why not doing it? So using that line, I would not make you do something you would not do with somebody you would really trust, it kind of confuses the fears she might have and get her closer to what she feels. If she feels like she can trust you, then why not jump in? Why not? It can be a fun time between the two of you. The next one is credit to one of my students who will recognize himself because he recently used that with someone he had an interaction with and she had resistance and he said this and then she changed her mind and joined him and happened what had to happen. And that was a pretty clever thing to say. So he said, when you are with a guy you really want, do you really make him wait that long? And apparently he told me that she had a blank when he asked this and she stopped resisting because so far she was saying apparently that she wanted to wait, she wanted to take her time just to be sure, and when he said this she had a blank and then she joined him where she had to join him. So this one is interesting because it is the same kind of embedded command when you are with a guy you really want. Same thing, you might point at yourself as you say this. When you know those types of people, the person you know you can fully trust because it is somebody deep down you know you want that person with you, or even somebody you deeply notice there is something more interesting you would like to learn about them. That might be too intricate, but basically this is an embedded command to someone you really want. Do you really make him wait that long? And if she has ever had in her life the experience of having a guy she really wanted, then obviously it is going to make her associate again with that past experience of, yes, when I really want something, I'm not just waiting, I'm really going for it. Obviously that will be more relevant if the personality of the person you are interacting with is more a go-getter person, somebody active in her life, but this is just a minor calibration to notice her personality and what she might react to the most. But you can always use that type of language patterns to make her disconnect the fears and worries away from her mind and make her connect more with what she truly feels. As usual, those are not things to do mind control or anything like this, because you can't really force somebody against their will. If she wants nothing with you, then hypnotic whatever is not going to do shit about it. However, somebody who deep down knows they want something happening with you and just refrain themselves from doing it because of past bad experiences or anything like this, then it can be helpful to use those types of language patterns to get the person to act more authentically upon her desires. And then obviously it is your responsibility to be an authentic person yourself and to communicate clearly what you want. That way both of you, both adults, are communicating playfully about what they are going to do in the bedroom eventually. Something where you just get the pressure off of her shoulders and you get the pressure off of your shoulders too, because why should it be such a big matter that two adults sexually attracted to each other go through such a mess of having to play games? Why not be more authentic? And there is a way to be authentic while remaining subtle, which is what those language patterns are all about. And finally, third one, which is one I have actually used not so long ago, you can say, I only want to do things with you that feels comfortable for you, or we are only going to do things that feel comfortable for you. The idea here is to pace the current potential resistance again by explaining that because we were on the way home basically during that moment. We were on the way home in the car, in the taxi, and I could sense some resistance because we hadn't met for that long and we hadn't built such a connection yet. And I could sense some resistance, like, yeah, I am joining you to your place, but don't hope too much. And that is when I just reassured that, well, I don't want to do anything you would not feel comfortable doing anyway. Which is true from experience. If somebody just pushes me physically, okay, fine, whatever, this is your boundaries, I'm not going to cross that. And from experience too, I could sense that with her she was completely okay. It is just that we hadn't built a real connection yet. So she was slightly on the defensive because of this, which is completely normal. So I initially reassured with, well, let's just do things you feel comfortable with. Again, the embedded command, feel comfortable with, nothing more. So you plant in her mind the images of you respecting her boundaries. If at any moment she says no, you will just obey and say, okay, fine, no more, fine. And despite that, I knew it was going to escalate anyway because of all the tension that had built up previously. I kind of knew where it was going, and when somebody follows you in a car without you having to force it either, yeah, that's just a pretty clear signal that she's fine anyway. She just needed some plausible denial, like, well, it is not happening because I wanted, it's happening because of you, because you're trying to force. Just like, oh, I'm not a slut, I'm not this, so don't take me like this. And obviously I want to respect her, I want to respect the way she wants to be perceived, so I'm pacing those worries by saying, you know, we can only stop at what you feel comfortable doing anyway. And so we basically just hugged, had some sweet moments, and then it still escalated after like 1 or 2 hours, by the way. So we built much more comfort, one being at my place. So in a way, I kind of acknowledged her concerns. We don't have enough connection yet. Fine, let's build more trust between the two of us. And then happens what was meant to happen, I guess. So as a summary, all of those language patterns are meant to distract, as in hypnosis, distract the conscious mind, the conscious limitations, to get better access to the feelings below that, to the feelings hidden behind the reasons, the logical reasons why this should not happen. It is exactly the same thing in sales. People think they buy for logical reasons. No, they buy for emotional reasons. And somebody who tries to sell something without getting some emotions triggered in the person, either negative or positive, the person will not likely buy anything because you haven't triggered their emotions enough. All of those language patterns here are presupposing that the emotional tension has already been built during the first and second phase of the seduction process, and now we are at the final deal, at the final close, and there is still some slight resistance. By the way, when you do your job correctly in the first and second phase, usually you don't even have resistance anyway, but let's say you do have some, then you have a few of those simple lines to get her more easily, to get in touch with what she really wants. And again, if what she really wants is just you to go away, fine, let go away and meet her next day, whatever. And from my experience, like 9 times out of 10, even if she says she should not do this, whatever, deep down she really wants it and she knows it's gonna be fine anyway. It is just because, for example, her friends told you not to be a whore, so she should not do this. Yeah, but deep down she doesn't feel like it, she doesn't feel like anything negative, and deep down she knows she wants it. So when she knows she wants it, you're just helping to free her mind from those unnecessary worries. And if you want more language patterns like this, you have a document down below where I have assembled 5 more that targets as much of the emotional connection phase as the more sexual phase. You have all of that together with the explanations on a psychological standpoint for why do they work so well on the unconscious mind, and how can you build more authentic ways of communicating sexually in that case without being too direct and without being too indirect either, because the point is still to have to build something authentic between the two of you. But most guys have trouble finding the midpoint, the midline between just not saying anything, not communicating any intent, and being way too brutal and vocal with those intentions. So they have trouble finding the midline, and I really wanted to develop all of those patterns and tools with that intent in mind of helping you finding your midline. How can you communicate in more subtle ways what you want to do with her without being too direct, by being more suggestive and while talking in a way that will stimulate her mind and make her think about you. Even if nothing happens that night, she will still kind of ponder on you, on your presence, on what you have said, and really wants to meet you again. That is the whole point of all of those patterns. You can use them right away. They are all in the description down below. Thanks a lot for watching. Ask anything if you have questions in the comment section, and I will see you soon in the next video. Thank you.